I have reached the age of 61. For nearly 4 decades I have shared my life with the same man, and until recently, I thought I had unraveled the mysteries of love, loyalty, and existence itself. I never sought out thrills or invited chaos into my life. I appreciated simplicity and predictability. Yet there are moments when life quietly approaches, resting a gentle hand upon your shoulder, and softly murmurs, "Not yet." Never did I imagine that something of this nature could befall me. I urge you avoid the error I once made. It began on a gray Tuesday afternoon, the clouds hanging low in the sky. I had just completed my assistance with the preparations for the retirement luncheon at my husband's workplace. He inquired whether I might offer some assistance, as they were a bit short on personnel, and I had always found joy in being of service. The office hummed with an unusual blend of festivity and subdued melancholy. Colorful balloons, an array of fresh fruit platters, and bubbly sparkling cider at an affordable price. Individuals engaging in casual conversation as if it were their profession. Though I was unfamiliar with most of them, a smile graced my lips regardless. That's simply how it's done. My husband, James, found himself engaged in a conversation with the guest of honor, and I hesitated to intrude. I decided to slip away and bide my time in the car. It was at that moment that I perceived the voice lingering just behind me. "Do you require transportation, Mrs. Callahan?" I pivoted and caught sight of Adam Gray, a younger colleague of James's. I recalled him from a few Christmas gatherings. His tall frame was complemented by dark hair that perpetually appeared slightly disheveled, as if he had neglected to tame it yet managed to pull off the look effortlessly. Perhaps in their mid-30s. He exuded politeness, always ready with a jest, yet never crossed the line into over-familiarity. The sort of man who melded into the background until you caught yourself gazing at him just a heartbeat too long. "Alas," I uttered. "I am now making my way to the car. I am capable of waiting." He arched an eyebrow, casting a fleeting look at the heavens above. The skies seemed to be gathering their gray hues, hinting at an impending downpour. I found a spot nearby. I have no objections whatsoever. For a moment I paused. I truly did, yet my feet ached, and the sky had taken on the hue of faded bruises. I offered a subtle nod. The aroma of peppermint intertwined with the scent of leather filled his car, immaculate, yet invitingly homey. He lowered the radio the moment I entered, and we slipped into that well-known silence shared by two individuals unsure of how to bridge the gap with words. "You were incredibly helpful in there," he remarked after a brief pause. It appeared that all were in favor of it. "I merely sought to be of assistance," I responded. My gaze locked on the windshield. The rain began to fall, gentle at the outset. Adam Gray wore a smile. "So, that's the kind of thing people like you engage in, is it? Perpetually offering assistance, perpetually lingering in the shadows." I found myself uncertain about how to interpret that. Individuals appreciate my presence. He appeared to be filled with embarrassment. I had no ill intentions. Simply, many individuals may not fully appreciate the extent to which women like you are the glue that binds everything together. A slight breath caught in my throat. It had been years since anyone had uttered words like that to me. Perhaps for all time. I scrutinized him intently, attempting to decipher the expressions on his face, yet he maintained his gaze on the road, unwavering and composed. "It's amusing," I remarked, a chuckle escaping my lips. "At times it seems as though I have slipped into a realm of invisibility since turning 50. Adam Gray cast a fleeting look in my direction before returning his gaze to the winding path ahead. "You are not unseen, Sarah." The way he uttered my name compelled me to sit a touch taller. It felt as though I had overlooked something important, and he simply brought it back to my attention. We traveled in quietude once more, the patter of the rain intensifying against the roof above us. I believed he had left me at the gate, yet he veered onto the side road that wound its way straight to our home. "Are you aware of our location?" I inquired, taken aback. "I have previously taken James to his destination. Do you recall the company baseball game that took place afterward? That day you were not at home." "Ah, indeed." I spoke even as the memory eluded me. Uncertainty clouded my emotions, leaving me questioning what I was meant to experience. He eased into the driveway and engaged the parking gear, yet left the engine humming softly. The rain fell in a relentless cascade, draping the windows with streaks of muted gray. "Thank you for the ride," I remarked, extending my hand toward the door. Yet, just as I was about to unveil it, his voice broke the silence. "Sarah, may I pose a question to you? If I overstep, feel free to tell me to be quiet." I hesitated, my hands resting on the door handle. There was an undeniable quality in his voice that compelled me to look back. "Very well," I responded with caution. He cast his gaze in my direction, not in a manner that diminished me or reduced me to an object, but as if he were genuinely perceiving my essence, truly perceiving my essence, as an individual, as a woman. "Do you find joy in your life?" he inquired, just like that. I blinked, momentarily caught off guard. A peculiar warmth unfurled within my chest, soon overtaken by a chilling tide of guilt. "That is indeed a complex inquiry." He nodded, his gaze unwavering, locked onto mine. "Seems to be as it should be." Words eluded me. No one has ever inquired about such matters with me. They presumed. They speculated. Yet it seemed that no one ever truly inquired. As I gazed at him, an unexpected revelation unfolded before my eyes. Inquisitiveness, softness, perhaps even a sense of yearning. Not desire, not impulsiveness, only connection. A constriction gripped my throat. I ought to take my leave. Adam Gray inclined his head with deliberation. "Certainly." Yet he refrained from starting the car. He remained seated as I swung the door open and ventured out into the downpour. I chose not to seek refuge. I took my time, unhurried. The water cascaded over my blouse and hair, trickling down my spine. It was a sensation that was both brisk and pure, yet shrouded in bewilderment. James lingered within the confines of the party. He would not return for at least another hour. And what if Adam Gray? He remained in the car, a silent figure, as I glanced back one last time before crossing the threshold inside. That evening, while I lingered in the kitchen, towel in hand, drying my hair, an odd realization washed over me. A sense of alertness washed over me. That night, sleep eluded me. I reclined next to James, attuned to the cadence of his breath, the gentle rasp of his snoring, a sound barely perceptible in the stillness. It was a sound I had become familiar with over the years, reminiscent of an old clock ticking softly in the background, recognizable, secure. Yet that night, it resonated differently, echoing from afar, a poignant reminder of the unintentional distance that had grown between us. Adam Gray's question lingered in my thoughts, reverberating like a haunting melody. "Do you find joy in your life?" No one had posed that question to me since then, perhaps since my 20s. In those days the solution was clear-cut. Life brimmed with motion, teeming with promise, guiding the little ones through their formative years. Constructing a dwelling, sharing laughter in the kitchen, amidst the chaos of charred lasagna, and the weight of mortgage worries. Yet at some point we found ourselves enveloped in a shared silence within the same space. As dawn broke, I embarked on my familiar morning ritual. A cup of coffee, washing garments. I tended to the plants by the kitchen window, giving them the nourishment they crave. As James departed, he pressed a gentle kiss to my cheek, murmuring something about meetings and the inevitable traffic ahead. A smile graced my lips. The smile, so mechanical and well-rehearsed, Then the door clicked shut, and I remained there, clutching the dish towel in my hands. A notification chimed softly on my phone. Adam Gray. Hello. I trust one didn't overstep any boundaries yesterday. The message held my gaze for what felt like an eternity. My thumbs lingered just above the screen, poised for action. Me. Indeed, that is not the case. Took me by surprise. His response came in a heartbeat. Adam Gray, that seems reasonable. Though it may not have been entirely just to pose such a question. You've occupied my thoughts since that evening at the party. Your appearance was striking, your gaze averted. For reasons unknown to me, I found myself taking notice, and yet I did. I refrained from replying immediately. I strolled through the living room, retrieved a lone sock that had found its way beneath the couch, adjusted a picture frame that was already perfectly aligned. My heart raced with an intensity that felt almost unbidden. At last I put my thoughts into words. Me. You have a point. For an extended period, I have existed in the shadows, unseen and unnoticed. He remained silent for a time. I envisioned him perusing it at a leisurely pace, perhaps contemplating deeply on how to respond. When he finally did, it was far from what I had anticipated. Adam Gray, how about we grab a coffee together sometime? Simply converse, nothing further. I took a seat at the kitchen table, the very table at which I had dished out countless meals, in the place where birthday candles were extinguished, in the shadows of transactions, where debts were settled and hushed disputes lingered. And now here I found myself, gazing at a message from a man half my age, requesting a conversation. I did not express my agreement, not immediately. Yet I did not utter a refusal either. On that Thursday I informed James that I was out to run some errands. I donned an article of clothing that had long been shrouded in darkness, untouched by the sun's warm embrace for years. A navy blouse that embraced the contours of my figure I once cherished. I applied my makeup with meticulous attention, convincing myself it was merely a matter of routine. We encountered each other at a quaint cafe, hidden on a side street that had nearly slipped from my memory. The type adorned with polished wooden floors, where soft jazz fills the air, accompanied by charming little handwritten menus. Adam Gray rose to his feet as I entered the room. He appeared as though he had just stepped out of a refreshing shower, his sleeves casually rolled up, a subtle smile gracing his lips. I wasn't certain you would arrive, he remarked. I was not, I responded, and that was the honest truth. We nestled in a serene nook, engaged in idle chatter initially, literature, atmospheric conditions, congestion on the roads. Yet the dialogue took a sudden turn, akin to transitioning from a tranquil pond to the vastness of the ocean. He shared with me the story of his parents' divorce. He observed as his mother gradually faded into the identity of an ex-wife, never fully reclaiming her true self. She showed him how to recognize the moments when women fall silent within the sanctuary of their own spaces. I shared with him the stories of my children, how I longed for the days when they were small. At times, I found myself harboring a sense of resentment towards their unrestrained freedom. How deeply I cherished James, yet at times I found myself questioning whether I truly knew him anymore. The coffee has grown cold, and still we lingered. In that fleeting moment as I reached for my cup, our fingers grazed against one another. I stood still, caught in a moment of sheer disbelief. He did as well. A flicker, small yet unmistakable, ignited in the space between us. I withdrew my hand. I have no desire for anything reckless, I stated firmly. He inclined his head in agreement. I am not either. I yearn to embrace that notion. I yearn to trust that we could safeguard whatever this was, enclosed. Yet a change had already begun to unfold. The atmosphere that enveloped us had lost its purity. As we prepared to depart, His fingers brushed my elbow with a soft, lingering touch. "I appreciate your affirmative response," he remarked. I navigated the road home, the windows slightly ajar, allowing the breeze to weave through my hair. As I eased into the driveway, a smile crept onto my face, not due to the events that transpired, but rather the possibilities that lay ahead. The days that ensued were tranquil on the surface, yet tumultuous within the confines of my mind. James remained oblivious to any changes around him, or if he had, silence was his only response. We maintained our dinner at 7, and continued to indulge in our evening shows. Yet I found myself lingering on that instant in the cafe. Adam Gray's hand grazing against mine, the intensity of his gaze holding me captive as he spoke, neither flirtatious nor dramatic, simply existing in the moment. It was as if he perceived me as a person deserving of his attention. The significance of that realization sent a chill through me. I made an effort to let it go. Experimented with baking, tended to the garden, seeking ways to occupy the time. Yet, in the quiet hours of the night, as the house settled into silence and I found myself alone in the den, illuminated solely by the soft glow of the lamp, I discovered I was revisiting our dialogues in my mind. It's not about the words truly. The sensation of their presence, as if I had crossed a threshold I was unaware existed. When Adam Gray reached out to me again, I responded without a moment's pause. "Adam Gray, I stumbled upon this enchanting spot by the lake. Serena. Tranquil. I feel the urge to take a stroll. Myself. At what hour shall we convene?" It was a Sunday afternoon, the sort of day that hung in the balance, poised between languor and weight. I donned a cozy sweater paired with a classic set of jeans, cozy yet unplanned. That was the narrative I crafted for myself. He stood there as I arrived, casually leaning against the hood of his car, hands tucked into his pockets. The breeze was gentle, and the sky donned a delicate pale blue-gray hue that rendered the world around it more tender and serene. Initially, we traversed the path in quietude. The distant chirping of birds filled the air, the crisp leaves crunched beneath my feet. The trail meandered beside the water's edge, carrying with it the scent of pine mingled with a hint of sweetness in the air. "Do you ever ponder," he mused, "how your life might unfold if you had chosen just one path differently?" My gaze fell upon him. "Which one shall it be? Is it any of them? An opportunity lost? A dialogue that remained unspoken?" I came to a halt. "What prompts this inquiry from you?" He pivoted to meet my gaze. "I can sense your contemplation on the matter. Whenever our conversations unfold, my throat constricted with an unsettling tightness, not out of anger, from a profound source, a blend of sorrow and yearning. "I didn't come here to do anything wrong," I whispered. "I have no desire to betray anyone." "You haven't," he said softly. "Not at this moment." A gentle breeze began to stir, a wayward strand of hair danced across my face, and just as I was about to smooth it down, he extended his hand and gently tucked it behind my ear. The gesture was remarkably simple, and yet my body reacted as if it had been yearning for this touch for an eternity. I took a step back. "I am married," I murmured, as if to reaffirm the truth to my own heart. "I understand, you possess youth." "I'm not that young," he replied, a wistful smile tugging at his lips. "And you are not old. Your vibrancy surpasses that of anyone I've ever encountered." I found myself at a loss regarding how to proceed with that. We perched on a bench, gazing out over the tranquil expanse of the lake. The sun began its descent, draping the water in a golden hue. "What is it about me?" At long last I posed the question. Adam Gray inclined his body, resting his elbows upon his knees. "Your silence is a badge of honor, worn with the weight of hard-earned experience. Your eyes laugh before your mouth ever does. The moment I laid eyes on you, it was as if you were stitching the universe together with delicate threads and a weary smile. With my eyes shut tight, I embraced the darkness. Never before had anyone uttered words quite like those to me. Not in a lifetime. Our lips never met. We never made contact again. Yet, an unvoiced connection lingered between us on that bench, something that could never be undone. Upon arriving home that evening, I found James engrossed in a game, a beaver cradled in his hand. He scarcely lifted his gaze. "Hello, darling, is everything all right?" "Indeed," I murmured softly. "I simply craved a breath of fresh air." He nodded, his gaze once more fixed on the screen. There I lingered in the doorway, lost in thought, contemplating how love could slip away so softly that one scarcely noticed its absence, until a presence emerged, reigniting those feelings within you. The week that followed was akin to teetering on the brink of an unnamed precipice. I navigated my daily rituals, laundry, phone calls with the kids, preparing dinner, just as I always do. Yet my thoughts continually wandered back to that bench by the lake, to the silence shared between Adam Gray and me, a silence that conveyed more than any words ever could. Though we had not arranged to meet again, his presence lingered in every corner of my mind. In the gentle caress of the morning breeze during my walks, I feel the weight of an ache I never realized I had been bearing for years. I began to observe certain aspects of James. He chewed his food, his gaze unwaveringly locked onto the flickering screen of the television. His silence on the matter of my day spoke volumes, and the manner in which I had ceased to anticipate his actions. What I felt was not anger. It was a chasm of distance, a serene and courteous space cultivated through the passage of time, veils upon veils of unexpressed thoughts. 3 days later, I encountered Adam Gray at the grocery store. In all the world, as I stood in the produce aisle, assessing the ripeness of a tomato, his voice drifted to me from behind. Yet the most captivating gaze in the space. I spun around abruptly, my heart racing as if I had been discovered in the act of some misdeed. Yet there was no grin or playful banter to be found, simply observing me with a quiet patience, lingering in anticipation. "Adam Gray." I inhaled deeply. "You startled me. I had no intention of doing that." He cast his gaze upon the basket cradled in his hand. I wasn't certain our paths would cross once more. There was a moment of pause. I found myself equally uncertain. A moment of silence lingered in the air. The store buzzed with life around us. Wheels of shopping carts gliding smoothly. Gentle melodies fill the air. An elderly woman inquired about the location of the eggs. He cleared his throat, a subtle prelude to the words that were about to follow. "Your presence lingers in my thoughts." The words pressed upon my chest, a weight I could not ignore. "I understand that this is not the case. It is sustainable," I asserted. "The connection we share, it is unable to reach its desired destination." "I know," he murmured softly, "yet that does not imply it lacked authenticity." We lingered in silence, both uncertain of our next move. At last I gave a subtle nod. "Could you accompany me to my car?" The scent of rain lingered in the air once more. Silence enveloped us as we made our way forward. We seamlessly fell into step just as we always had. At my car I paused and faced him. "I cannot become a person who deceives Adam Gray. Not for him, and not for my own sake. I don't want you to be," he said. "Yet I felt it was essential for you to understand." You stirred a feeling within me, a sensation I never anticipated experiencing once more. Before I could rein them in, the tears flowed freely, gentle with a hint of remorse. I whispered, "You did the same for me." He moved closer, and in that moment we shared our first embrace. There is no rush, There is no warmth, only intimacy. With his arms enveloping me, my cheek resting softly against his shoulder, I felt the subtle pain of parting linger in the air. Then he withdrew. "Farewell, Nora, farewell." And in that fleeting moment he turned and walked away. For a moment, I lingered in the car, contemplating before finally turning the key in the ignition, observed the diminishing glow of his car's taillights as they disappeared from the parking lot. I refrained from shedding tears once more. I simply took a moment to confront the truth. Upon my arrival home, I discovered James in the backyard, tinkering with the grill. The aroma of charcoal and lighter fluid lingers in the atmosphere. "Hey," he remarked, cleaning his hands with a casual gesture. I had a thought that perhaps we could indulge in some burgers this evening. As in days gone by, I inclined my head in agreement. "That sounds delightful." He gazed at me for a moment that lingered just a bit longer than what felt customary. "Are you all right?" For the first time in what felt like ages, I spoke the truth. "I'm uncertain," I replied, "yet I aspire to be." We lingered in silence, watching as the sky transformed into a brilliant shade of orange overhead. It lacked true closure, not in any meaningful sense. It existed in a realm neither of conclusion nor of commencement. It was a fleeting moment. At times it feels as though moments are the only treasures we possess. Yet they possess the power to rouse us from our slumber, to serve as a reminder of our continued presence, still able to experience emotions of selection, of transformation, despite the passage of time.